What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again once again, and today, people, are you ready to go on a journey? Because we're about to go on a journey. Boy, do I have the story for you. One with twists and turns. One of anger and revenge, of impersonation and betrayal. The story of a multi-billion-dollar corporation failing not only the people it set out to protect, but the very content creators that allow their platform to flourish, and potentially itself. In fact, we have two convoluted tales of YouTubers scorned who decided if they can't have it their way, well,
then let the galaxy burn.
So of course, first, some backstory. In 2021 to 2022, Bungie, in a move that proved to be highly controversial, went after Destiny music archive channels. Now the reason this was controversial is, with Destiny, archiving things just kinda sorta makes sense. I mean, look at this week's story. There was probably a lot of new lights trying to figure out why Bane was mad at Keitel.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding. The shadows betray you because they belong to me.
Keitel, without the binding ritual, it is as I feared. We must abandon this.
I don't need a hive-tainted witch to explain my failure.
Then I won't.
So clearly, the archiving of Destiny content is a great idea. However, it is Bungie's IP at the end of the day, and they can do with it as they please. Now, I don't remember if Bungie first issued a warning on their Twitter, on Reddit, on their blog, before having GCS Global, a company that handles this sort of copyright issue on their behalf, go after YouTube content with Content ID takedowns. If they didn't, kind of a dick move. But again, at the end of the day, it is their intellectual property. They can do with it as they see fit. Falling air quote victim to a round of these strikes, enough to take down their entire channel, you have one Nicholas Minor, aka Lord Nezo, who is now being sued by Bungie in the United States District Court, Western District of Washington, for a whopping $7.6 million. For what, you might ask? Fraudulent DMCA takedowns. Takedowns that they allege hurt the reputation of their company and their relationship with their customer base. See, in March 2022, Destiny YouTubers, big and small, but most notably, My Name is Bife and Astacross, all the way up to and including Bungie themselves, were hit by a series of DMCA takedowns by Bungie and their third-party partner, CSC Global. You can understand where creators who have been covering this game for the better part of a decade might be perplexed. You can probably see how Bungie themselves might be even more perplexed about this turn of events. Turns out, in a revelation that'll surprise absolutely positively no one, Bungie wasn't going after their free advertisers. But who could this devious, diabolical villain be?
It was I, Dio!
No, of course, it was Lord Nezo in disguise.
It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed so it'd seem like you nutted at just a woman's touch!
But how did he do it? How did he trick the suits at YouTube into believing he was Bungie or CS Global? I mean, clearly, if you're going to claim that you own the copyright to something, especially on behalf of a company, there would be checks and balances to stop people from abusing the system arbitrarily. It's not like there should be bare fucking minimums, right? Some fucking standards here, right? Well, in a Twitter thread by Owen Spence, who many of you might know from the endorsement of his work by Marty O'Donnell, in trying to reconstruct Music of the Spheres, which ultimately received its own cease and desist from Bungie. Owen had this to share. Extremely disappointed to find out Lord Nezo, our friend and somebody in direct communication with us about the takedowns, was the person who issued the fake DMCA takedowns. On behalf of Bungie, Nezo lied to us, started a Discord group, DM'd me, Promethean, Briashi, and Lord Canuck, all while acting like he was the victim. I do apologize if I butchered any of your names. Now what did he say? Well, we have receipts. The fact that it's that easy makes it very likely for somebody to just abuse the system. Hell, you could make a Google account right now and go to YouTube Studio and submit a takedown request on any video you want. Yup, YouTube has the most bullshit copyright takedown system ever. It's so brain dead simple that even a child could submit a takedown request without needing any proof of authorization. I believe somebody is impersonating him. I still don't think it's CSC. I mean, anyone can make an email like first, last name, csc@gmail.com. It's definitely a fraud. Yeah, it's the people like us who suffer, the little guys, or just anyone with fewer than 250k YouTube subscribers and 100k Twitter followers. Owen then would go on to confirm that Lord Nezo's channel was struck down by Bungie because his content wasn't transformative enough, because he was just taking the files off the Bungie store and looping them. So, since his videos were struck, he posed as Bungie and struck at the community at large. But what was this madman's plot? His scheme? Did he just want to burn down the entire Destiny community? No, it was actually more kind of devious. Now, I do not condone what this guy did, and it was sure as shit wasn't clever, but there was some thought there. And, well, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. He thought outside the box. So, no, he didn't want to burn the Destiny community down. He loves the Destiny community. His thought was, well, if he fraudulently and secretly DMC strikes all of these channels, in all of the chaos of all this fraud, he would trigger his trap card, appealing once again to YouTube to get his channel back, under the assurances that clearly the real Bungie didn't actually strike him down. It must have been this masked madman who will never be found. But everything was not all Kakudori, for you see. First, YouTube didn't buy that, obviously, and then Bungie apparently found Lord Nezo through a series of interconnected accounts like Reddit and Twitter and YouTube and Discord and the IP address that was sending out these fraudulent emails. Come on, Lord Nezo, you should have used the code BUTTJOKER at checkout to get a great deal on NordVPN before engaging in some tomfoolery. Now it's cost you $7.6 million, which is basically Bungie ending this person's life to send a message. I mean, don't get me wrong, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, but
even to a guy like me, that's cold.
But who truly is the bad guy of our story? Is it Lord Nezo, who went after other content creators in this cockamamie scheme to get his channel back? Is it Bungie, who is now suing this, I assume, young adult out of existence for $7.6 million for damages done to their reputation against their community, which I do have to imagine would be pretty hard to prove. But still, or is it YouTube? YouTube. I have been meaning to talk about this for a while now, since the Actman drama really started, and a very tickled man's review of Elden Ring saw a series of copyright strikes and takedown abuse. QTV, as we'll call him, because he who shall not be named sounds way too badass. For those of you who do not know, QTV is a creator who reviews TVs and TV shows, and then he tried dipping his toes into game reviews. One of the games that they decided to review was Elden Ring. The TLDR, their review comes off like a child who doesn't know how to read, screaming about how reading is stupid. As I'm sure you can guess, everyone and their mothers all memed on it. Look, shit happens. And hey, I get being upset and lashing out and maybe talking some smack or trying to explain your side of the story when things aren't going your way. Nothing wrong with that. We all do it. Where you cross the line, however, is when you go against this sort of unwritten social contract that YouTubers have amongst each other, saying, and I quote, "Don't use the fucking nuclear option," that being strikes and takedowns. Unless all communication is broken down, there's nothing else you can do, and it really is infringement. You're not just getting your knickers in a knack because somebody made fun of you. Now, this bout of YouTube drama would have been a big, fat, nothing burger had level heads simply prevailed. But as we all know, no good story starts that way. So at first, the conflict between YouTubers like Actman, Tech Review, Mischief, and our Tickled Man, and anybody else who covered this controversy, was all about comedically bad Elden Ring takes and DMCA abuse. This sprawled into a 3-month investigation and an attempt to remove QTV from the platform. Not just for abuse of the system, which is bad in and of itself, but at the end of the day, the system is the system, and that's ultimately YouTube's problem. It's their fault. They let people abuse it. But QTV was being ousted or attacked for a lot of other things. For example, a lot of very bigoted views spewed across the internet, so much so that the Actman was able to compile an hour-long video just going through the evidence, key of which to our story in the here and now is Exhibit A, where QTV, upset about The Last of Us, wished for the deaths of people in the LGBTQ+ community. And then there's Exhibit B, which has QTV reaching out to Actman's mother. Quote, "Actman, I reached out to your mother to convey the severity of real-world harm you've been causing through your social media actions. I in no way ever threatened your mother or family. I definitely never issued any veiled threats. But now you're calling for the Act Bros to unite for Act Mother's honor? This has officially turned into criminal activity." He goes on to word vomit a pity party about how he's just a victim here. Yeah, okay. Now anyone with a brain understands that doxing someone and calling their relatives because they mocked your hot take over a fucking video game is categorically a threat. In the same vein as some wannabe mob boss in a movie or a TV show saying, "Oh, well that's a lovely family you got there." Sure, they didn't say anything explicit, but you don't dox someone and reach out to their family and not mean it as a threat. When you do that, you are saying in no uncertain terms, you can get to them, you can reach them, you have violated their privacy, and if they don't back down, well, we wouldn't want to escalate things, now would we? That is the message you're sending. There's no other way to interpret it. After compiling all this info, Actman filed a complaint, and then YouTube was all like, "That sucks. Well, can't do anything about it." After which, Actman had this to say: "I can confirm after conducting what they say was a thorough investigation, YouTube has found QTV 100% innocent of all charges, and they will take no action against him. By making this decision, YouTube is effectively saying that abuse of the copyright ID tool and DMCA takedowns will never be punished. Their policies on external links are null and void, and you can link your communities to whatever hate speech you wish. They are also perfectly fine with content dedicated towards harassing children and minors that exist on this platform. I'm ecstatic to learn how much advertisers love to appear in videos of content creators harassing children and threatening them with bogus lawsuits, especially if those videos fall within fair use. YouTube is taking the stance that there is nothing wrong with doxing other content creators' families, revealing the method by which you dox them, and making veiled threats of violence and direct threats of legal action against other YouTubers' families. That type of content is not only perfectly fine, but fully monetizable. QTV's videos threatening my mother are still up and fully monetized. YouTube. QTV has objectively violated countless rules, guidelines, and TOS, and therefore needs to be removed from the platform permanently. There is no debate, only your complacence and inaction. He has harassed other content creators on the platform for the last 4 years, and he will continue to do so until you do something about it. YouTube has failed to enforce the following community guidelines in this case: external links, hate speech, cyberbullying, harassment, additional policies, see ban evasion, copyright abuse, harmful or dangerous content policies, child safety policies, spam, deceptive practices, and scam policies. This is the dark age of YouTube. Now, as one would assume, that's pretty disheartening. And you would think that would be the end of it, right? Nope. Oh, you see. Fans of Our Tickled Man brigaded Actman's videos, getting them struck down and demonetized. All of this culminated in Actman's entire channel being demonetized. As this abuse of YouTube's report system and mass flagging was going on, the Actman made what was his only mistake. He made this joke. I'm excited to announce a new series of videos I'll be making on YouTube called Doxing Adventures with Actman. In it, I'll be doxing and harassing the family members of YouTube employees and other content creators. It's sure to have lots of family fun, ha 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 ha. He would then go on to joke, with YouTube's new policy changes that allow doxing and invasion of privacy, I'm fully allowed to make these videos. Please stay tuned for this new generation of advertiser-friendly content. Now this of course was in response to QTV doxing Actman and threatening his family, and YouTube doing absolutely, positively, nothing about it. Now, don't get me wrong, those tweets were stupid. He gave YouTube or QTV the ammunition they needed to lash back at him. However, YouTube had a responsibility that they failed to take care of QTV back when this wasn't an issue. YouTube failed in that responsibility. YouTube had a responsibility to remove QTV from the platform, if for no other reason than the doxing of Actman's family. When it comes to doxing, when it comes to calling a content creator's family, that type of behavior cannot and should not be tolerated. By YouTube doing nothing, it sends the message that this sort of behavior is okay. In both our stories and many, many more that happen on the platform all the time, we see this dropping of the ball when it comes to YouTube running their platform. Most of it is done by automation to protect multi-billion-dollar corporations, but we even see them fail in that, where accusers don't even have to prove ownership or wrongdoing, but the accused must prove that they are innocent. And when violations of their rules do happen, YouTube is at best passively inadequate, at worst complacent, knowingly allowing their tools to be abused. They're enablers. Neither instance here shows a company built to protect its creators. And while something like that has always been apparent, it's ironically Bungie's court case filings that send the most scathing message in no uncertain terms. 96 separate times, Miner used his fake CS Gmail account to exploit the hole in YouTube's DMCA process security that allows anyone to claim to be representing a rights holder for the purpose of issuing a takedown, with no real safeguards against fraud. 96 times, Miner sent DMCA takedown notices purportedly on behalf of Bungie, identifying himself as Bungie's brand protection vendor in order to have YouTube instruct innocent creators to delete their Destiny 2 videos or face copyright strikes, disrupting Bungie's community of players, streamers, and fans, and all while Lord Nezo was taking part in the community discussion of Bungie's takedowns, spreading disinformation. This caused Bungie significant reputational and economic damage for obvious reasons. As discussed below, the Destiny community was bewildered and upset, believing that Bungie had reneged on their promise to allow players to build their own streaming communities and YouTube channels on Destiny 2 content. Destiny community members were also misled to believe that Bungie's brand protection agent was also fraudulent, causing confusion amongst players to the authenticity of legitimate DMCA notices. Bungie had to devote significant internal resources to addressing it and helping its players restore their videos and channels. An effort complicated by the fact that while YouTube has a form that allows anyone to claim to represent a copyright holder and issue copyright strikes, it has no dedicated mechanism for copyright holders who are being impersonated to let YouTube know about the DMCA fraud. This meant that Bungie had to work through several layers of YouTube contacts over a period of several days before it could adequately communicate and begin addressing the problem. YouTube has failed It has failed the companies and brands that it has designed these systems to protect. It has failed content creators who, unless you have 1 million or near enough not to matter subscribers, don't have a voice. And YouTube has failed to protect content creators from malicious actors within its own community. And I fear, if there is not a course correction, the next adpocalypse, when any of the various media outlets that have constantly been trying to take YouTube down as a media power get a hold of people like QTV, will be the worst one we've ever seen. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did, subscribe for more, feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous, and above all else, stay frosty.